Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with a look at Elite Dangerous. And today I've got some fantastic live stream highlights for you featuring a few of my viewers, Bribe Guntails, Thanatos, and Lightning Dragon, who were all kind enough to join me in a wing and help show me the ropes. I have, of course, forgotten pretty much everything there is to know about Elite Dangerous since the last time that I've played, so I definitely appreciate their help. On top of that, I was fortunate enough to be joined by hundreds of live stream viewers who were also able to give me a few tips and tricks along the way. And again, very much appreciate everybody's patience in dealing with me being new to this game. It has been a while, and there's a lot to learn and perhaps even relearn. Now, on top of that, this was also the first time that I've used a flight stick with Elite Dangerous. I'm using the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, which is a very simple flight stick, $30. Nothing fancy, but it does get the job done. I figure I'll start out with something simple, and if I really enjoy the use of a flight stick, that I might perhaps upgrade to a nice HOTAS setup in the future. But again, since I don't play a lot of flight sims, I figure starting simple is the way to go. This was also my first time dealing with the game's wing system, which is their way of grouping up. A wing consists of 4 players total, including yourself. And when it works, it's pretty great, but sadly it doesn't always work. It was a bit glitchy for us that night, and we had trouble inviting individuals to the wing. Now, while I had originally intended to simply space truck the night away, my viewers had different ideas. They thought that it would be better if I go ahead and join them in a few bounty hunts. Of course, I don't want you to get too excited about that idea, as we are only going to go ahead and attack bots this night. This was a private galaxy featuring friends only, which is a new feature within Elite Dangerous. Speaking of new features, we're about to engage Navlock, which allows us to follow our wingman here, in this case Bribe Guntails, to a specified destination. It usually works. I haven't exploded yet, so that's always a good thing.
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
One thing that I've definitely missed about Elite Dangerous is, of course, the sound effects, which are absolutely top-notch. And as I typically say about most game developers, they tend to neglect sound design. And I think that's a huge mistake, because sound is a critical component, one of our main senses, and it should not be ignored. And of course, speaking of sound, I've noticed that they added a nice score to the game, or at least more tracks than there was previously. You can purchase the soundtrack via the website. It is a physical edition as far as I've seen, but you can get a digital version on Amazon.com and perhaps other digital distribution services. I opted for the Amazon digital version as it was only $8.99, and there were quite a few tracks that I really liked, so pretty good deal. Now, it would seem that if you're in the mood for some bounty hunting, then hitting up resource extraction sites is not a bad idea, as we are about to drop out of Super Cruise here. Unfortunately, a little further away than I'd like to be, but hey, again, at least we didn't explode. Check out that view. It is really nice to see all the asteroids that make up the rings of this planet. It is definitely a sight to behold. Of course, as nice as the view is, these are giant rocks in space, and, well, U plus rock equal boom, and not a fan of that, so let's try to avoid collisions. Also, locking onto and following wingmates, generally a good idea if you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, and that is the case in today's footage. But hey, on top of that, they've got nicer ships than me, and so, well, maybe that accounts for something. Nice ships equals experience, I guess, maybe. Guys, help! Oh hey, closer to the giant space rocks. What could possibly go wrong? I know you're waiting for me to crash into something. Will it happen? I don't know. Stay tuned for the next episode. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to keep watching. But anyways, notice some miners out and about. they're collecting space, rock, and perhaps minerals of great value. But we are here for a different resource. That be Joe Jim Gregory, man of three names, defiler of worlds, pillager of cheeseburgers. Anyways, he's wanted or something and we're going to kill him. Now, with that said, all of the killing that you'll see today is brought to you in part by the fact that I'm using a flight stick for the first time in a space game, at least in a very, very, very long time. But even so, I think I did okay, and I feel like I did a lot better than when I was using the mouse and keyboard combination. If anything, it definitely makes flying a whole heck of a lot easier. Aiming wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. These are hard-mounted lasers. They're not gimbal-mounted, which means that they don't pivot on a joint. And so they are a little bit more difficult to use. I do look forward to getting a better ship and perhaps mounting some sort of gimbaled weaponry, which I believe are a bit more expensive and maybe don't do as much damage. But I think you make up for it by actually hitting a target versus missing most of your shots with a hard-mounted weapon system. Now, let's go ahead and look at the radar for a second here. You'll notice that there are a lot of purple triangles, which are targets, which seems to have been local law enforcement. Somebody has upset the popo, and, well, he's going to have to run for it. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like that transgression is linked to my ship, and I'm able to continue engaging my target of choice here. You can, of course, imagine that during the live stream, I had no idea what was going on. I saw all those purple triangles, and I proceeded to freak out. Thankfully, people in the chat notified me that there wasn't much to worry about as long as I didn't fire on law enforcement, that I would be okay. Probably a good rule to follow whether you're in a video game or real life. Now, I wasn't really sure how long we'd be out here. I had never done any bounty hunting before. In fact, the last time I played Elite Dangerous, I pretty much avoided any type of combat simply because I had trouble controlling the ship, at least with a mouse and keyboard setup. Admittedly, this was a bit more fun than space trucking for me. I know that some people love hauling cargo from station to station. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I too enjoy that from time to time, as it is a bit more relaxing. However, pulling a trigger, things exploding, money flying out of their hull, that works for me. Now, I was still actually using the keyboard in this situation. My keyboard was for the throttle controls as well as anything else related to the ship's systems. The joystick was mostly in regards to ship maneuvering and firing. There's a couple of extra buttons on there that I would like to bind. The Extreme 3D Pro is not bad. There are a lot of buttons on the base as well as a few on the stick itself. For 30 bucks, I think it's a good value. I'm just curious to see how long the thing lasts. I did own one a very, very long time ago, and it only lasted me about a year. This is a newer version with the same aesthetic, so it might last a little longer. We'll have to see. Now, apparently this federal dropship is kind of a big deal. I'm trying to get there in order to score some hits, but I don't really get there in time to do a bunch of damage. Also considering the fact that my weapons aren't amazing. I wasn't sure if my share of the bounty was influenced by the amount of damage done or whether it was just evenly distributed amongst wingmen based on simply engaging a target. There's still quite a bit I need to learn about this game, but I think in time it will be second nature. I'd like to also note that I wasn't taking any time to target subsystems on these enemy ships. I wasn't sure if that was something that I needed to do against AI, or if that's something that's only really important when dealing with other players, but I'm sure it's something that I should learn, as I do think that it will come in handy in the future, especially if I do have to engage in a PvP situation. 12,000 credits there, and it does get better as we find some higher value targets a little later on, but I would recommend this to newer players that might perhaps have some individuals handy that are able to carry you into victory. This is definitely a quick way to make cash, especially if you're not really into the whole space trucking aspect of this game. Now, I think my biggest concern with Elite Dangerous is how long will it last me? How long can I play this game before I get bored of it? I obviously have a history of getting tired of games, and it tends to come down to just simply a lack of things to do, not necessarily a lack of new ships or equipment, but more so I need objectives, I need missions, I need something to keep me on my toes and to keep me coming back for more. Will Elite Dangerous provide that? How have the updates been? Have they been too few and far in between, or have they been plentiful? I know that they are working on a console version of this. Is that going to get in the way of developing new content for the primary PC version? These are all things that concern me about Elite Dangerous, and I really hope that Frontier Development sticks to it and continues to make a great game. Of course, with that said, it is nice to see a game that you can pay a flat fee for and just jump into and have a good time. We, these days, see too many free-to-play titles, I think. Usually anything that has a vehicle in it is a free-to-play game, and I think free-to-play mechanics inherently hurt the gameplay of a title, and so it's nice to see something that's a bit more traditional, old school, pay a fee, get in, and play. Maybe in the future you spend some more money on expansion packs, perhaps you put some coin down on cosmetic items, but generally you get that old school gameplay experience that I dearly miss.
Under attack.
It would seem this target's a tad upset that I'm firing at him, so we're taking some return fire here. I am trying to get good about spreading my system resources around. More power to weapons when necessary, power back to shields, flip it to engines if I need to get away. But again, it is something that I have to get used to being new to the game, but again, I'm sure it'll come with time. I am of course curious about voice attack software and setting it up to work with Elite Dangerous. I have a feeling that it would come in quite handy, as I have seen quite a few other live streamers use it to great effect. And maybe one day I'll give it a shot. I think it's just more so getting over the setup time. But holy moly, 17,000+ credits there. That is what I'm talking about. One thing I've always wanted to do in this game, or games like this, is set up escort missions where you have perhaps one friend in a cargo ship and the rest of the wing in fighter escort. Now, I really don't know if there's much point to that in this title. It seems like even the biggest cargo ships can escape an interdiction. On top of that, I don't know what the likelihood of a player finding you is in this game. It seems like it's quite rare, as the scale of the title is just simply massive. But it is an idea that I've had. It sounds like it would be fun in theory. I just don't know if it really works or makes much sense with the current game design. And with that, we decide to play it safe, head on home to collect our bounties. Otherwise, there is a chance that your ship can be destroyed and you go home with nothing.
3, 2, 1, engage.
Back into Super Cruise, thinking about the ships that I could buy with the money that I don't yet have, and I will most likely get myself into a Viper Mark III. That comes highly recommended from most of the viewers in my live stream chat and within the game. And, well, let's face it, it's a cool looking ship, and it's a lot better looking than this flying chalupa. In hindsight, though, I should have used the free eagle that I was provided for being in beta, as I'm told that it's a lot better for bounty hunting. It is a fighter, after all, and far more maneuverable. Sadly, let's face it, I was distracted most of the stream and didn't really think too much about it. Home sweet home. Delicious bounty awaits. Looking forward to landing and calling it quits. I won't pretend that it was a night without frustration. Definitely not the easiest game to get into, but once you start to figure out the basics, there's a lot of fun to be had. How long that fun will last greatly, of course, depends on Frontier Developments. I really hope that they continue to work on this title and don't get distracted by money or greed in general. I'd like to continue playing Elite Dangerous in hopes of finding a game that piques my interest for longer than a month, but it's hard to say with current game development trends these days. I see the interest. I know that people want to play just from hanging out in a live stream for a few hours. I understand that we all share similar passions and desires to see a great title surface out of the science fiction open world genre. The question is, who will be the one to get it right? In today's day and age, developers more so make a game because they know that they can make a lot of money out of it. There was a time when developers used to make something because they thought it would be cool and interesting. They wanted to make the game that they wanted to play. Nowadays, I find that that just simply isn't the case, and well, that's just downright sad. And I hope to look to a future that's bright and filled with passionate developers that have ideas and dreams and desires that they want to follow. I hope that we can look forward to a future where developers once again want to make games that they want to play and share with friends and family alike. Never forget that it is you, the gamer, the viewer, the consumer, that is in charge of a game's fate or even destiny. Make sure that when you open that wallet, that it is pointed in a direction of a title deserving of that hard-earned money. Quality is king, and let's not let them forget that. But ladies and gentlemen, I really hope that you've enjoyed this look at Elite Dangerous. I had a lot of fun playing, and I really appreciate the fact that many of you took the time to help out a complete stranger, whether it was in or out of game. It definitely means a lot. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining me. I will see you on the next one.